Hello friends, it's Sarah. Welcome back to another Dinkum Build. This particular build is it's special. It was a collaborative effort between myself and fellow YouTube content creator BoozyLoomer, aka Michelle, and of course my building partner in crime, SunnyAnn. I recently spent some time in San Diego, California, and we went to, of course, the zoo and Mission Beach, and I got to see Balboa Park from afar. And so I told the ladies, hey, I've got this great idea for a build. Let's build a replica or a portion of Balboa Park. And so that's what we set about doing. We've got a million beaches on my island, and I already have a wildlife preserve, so I was like, something a little different. And I already had this area over on this section that, had a botanical garden and arboretum. So I was like, this will be a perfect segue into a new build. BoozyLoomer, aka Michelle, she lives in California, and she's been to Balboa Park on multiple occasions. So this was like a match made in heaven. We joined up, and all three of us decided to pick a building and build our own building that's part of Balboa Park. And the one building that really spoke to me was this one particular like Spanish style architecture building that had this beautiful reflecting pond in front of it. And I was like, okay, I want to build that. I think that looks, it appeals to my sense of aesthetics. So that's one I chose. SunnyAnn, given her background and everything, she wanted to do the botanical building, the botanical garden building and surrounding garden area. And Michelle, she wanted to do the Natural History Museum. So I just let everybody have free reign with what they were doing. It's like, okay, you pick. We had these inspiration pictures that we were using, and we all set about building our particular buildings. As you can see, there's some stuff kind of on the ground already, and we had done some pre-planning and laying out, okay, this building's gonna go here, this one's gonna go over here, and this one, is gonna have this little section. Of course, best laid plans and all that, we ended up changing some of what we did. But yeah, that's kind of where this is at the moment in time. So I set about building the bases for the archways. So this particular structure, and we'll pop up the example picture, had it's a walkway that kind of connected two buildings and had this like arched architecture. And when I saw it, I was like, okay, this will be really easy to copy-ish, given our, bridges and how we can, build like archways like this. So I was like, yeah, this is gonna be great. This is gonna be so easy to build. And then I got into doing it here, and I was like, this is not looking anything like the picture. What's going on? Well, then I had to kind of go back and recalculate and do it a little differently, as you'll see in a few minutes. But yeah, this was a lot of fun. I probably should have recorded or left in some of the things that we discussed, because we were, being silly and having a good old time. And I got to say, building with other people is a lot more fun. Obviously building by yourself, you get the job done, you get the project finished, but having other people to chat with and talk about their life and travels and things they've done and seen is just so much more interesting and makes the game that much more enjoyable. So you're working on this great project together, and then you're kind of learning about the other person. So I really, really enjoyed this, and I really appreciate Michelle and Sunny taking the time to come over and work on this with me. We've got a couple of other projects that we're going to team up on in the future, so stay tuned for those. But yeah, we had a great time. I am, as per usual, anybody who's watched my videos for any length of time now, knows how sort of scattered-brained and ADHD and distracted by shiny things that I can, be when it comes to building stuff. So I'll build something for a little bit and then jump over to something else. And that happens quite a bit in this build. But to some extent, there was a method to the madness, because I'm screen recording what I'm doing. You can't see what the others are doing. Well, Sunny doesn't do any kind of YouTube content creation, and I tried to take time out here and there to go over to where she was building and just kind of show her progress. And then Michelle, she being a YouTube content creator, it was screen recording what she was doing from her perspective. So she will have a video out, if not currently, which you should go check her out. I will link her channel in the description below, and I will probably put a little card up in the right-hand corner of the screen to go check out her video from her perspective of the build and her building the Natural History Museum. So I thought that was going to be a really cool collaboration. You get to see from her perspective how this build came together for her building. And, you know, I'll take a few minutes here and there to go check on SunnyAnn and show you guys what she was doing. Because, you know, she's super creative. She makes these like really great faux buildings in Dinkum. And I really appreciate her coming and helping. So here I am trying to kind of build the buildings that kind of are connected with this arched walkway. And I'm realizing probably about this moment, this is just not, it's not it. It's not looking like how I want. So, you know, there's going to be a lot of trial and error here where I build up and tear down and reconfigure, which, you know, by now you guys realize this is just a part of the drill. So once again, I was a little frustrated with the fact that I'm limited on how tall I can make things. And that is also kind of why I go back here in just a little bit and recalculate some stuff, because I'm at max height right now. And I was like, okay, this is not tall enough. I'm going to have to tear everything else down a little further. And you'll see me experiment with different items to make it look taller. And it just wasn't looking great. So yeah, we go through a little bit of, growing pains as I figure out how to make this look as much like the inspiration picture as I can with the items that we currently have in the game. So why don't you guys sit back, relax, and watch as we try to make this come together. The silo has a lot of great uses, but sadly it was not going to work for the Spanish style architecture I had going on. And it was not going to create quite the height and look I was going for. So this is about where I decided to bring in the arches and make them single, 1 square wide instead of 3. And I also took it down, I think 1 square here, just to kind of help accentuate the 2 buildings on either the left and the right side in terms of their height. So I hope one day that, you know, we can build higher than, I think it's 11 tiles high. Fingers crossed for that in a future update, or maybe when the game is full release. That'd be spectacular. Because there's quite a lot I could build if I could go a little taller. You'll notice in the top of the screen, it'll say Sunny has left, BoozyLoomer has left or come back. In multiplayer, I've noticed, and it could just be we all have like totally crap internet connections, but I have noticed when I've played in multiplayer that this happens fairly frequently. So I don't know if it's just really bad internet or it's a symptom of multiplayer glitches. So it can get a little frustrating. I think the ladies were a little, everything was a little delayed for them because they were in my game, and we made some tweaks in terms of the settings, trying to lower things to make it a little less congested for all of us. But I'm not a techie person, so I don't know if any of those things that we did actually helped. But they pop in and out quite frequently during all of this. This build took I think it was 2 real life days. We played for a significant portion of a Saturday, and then we came back on Sunday and did a few things, and then we did the final walkthrough later that evening, since everybody has family stuff. So we fit it in over 2 days, probably the shortest large scale build I've ever worked on. 3 buildings and an entire garden area, that's pretty massive. So I was pretty proud of us that we got this done. But then when you play with other people, it all goes a little faster. And sharing ideas and, hey, what do you think about this? It really helped speed the process along. We could kind of catch mistakes a little faster because you had other people there kind of checking your work, if you will. And I was constantly having, hey, come over and take a look at this. Does this look right? What should I do differently? Is this too much brick? Things like that. And so we did that quite a bit. It helped make the process a lot shorter. And the pre-planning that we did ahead of time in terms of layout and prep for, as you'll notice in the very, very beginning, the flyover, we had already cleared out this whole area and gotten it ready. So that way, we could get right to work, which was really nice, because you usually got to do a lot of prep work in order to get an area ready to even build. So there I am, just running around checking everybody else's stuff. Oh yeah, I decided that the reflecting pond was way too short. If you look at the example picture, it looks much bigger and much more impressive. And so I was like, yep, scale wise, I think we've got to make this bigger. And so that's what I did. I was really happy about that decision because it ended up looking better in the end. If you've ever been to Balboa Park, you'll know that it's massive. It covers a lot of ground. I saw it mostly from the zoo, the Skyfari tram, and just driving by. We didn't, unfortunately, get a chance to actually go in and explore Balboa Park in its entirety, just because of limitations with how long we were going to be there. But if I ever go back to San Diego, I will definitely be exploring that area way more in depth. Based on all the Google image pictures I found, it looks absolutely beautiful. And there's a lot of really cool things to do there. Museums and art galleries and all the things culturally that would be interesting to see. I tried to put some lights out so you guys could see at nighttime as we were building. You know, as you're playing, you kind of sort of forget. And then when I'm looking back on these later, I'm like, oh, I should have put out lights because it's so hard to see. So yeah, this is me, Let There Be Light. So that was like a little quick conference. Hey guys, should I use the iron fence or should I use the brick fence? And we definitely decided that the iron fence gave a breakup to all the brick. It was just so much. And but you know, we're kind of limited when it comes to pathing, and the building I was replicating had a very Spanish style sort of vibe, but it also had like some sandstone too, and I really was wanting some sandstone. Okay, so this, you're like, what's happening here? Michelle decided that the entrance to her museum was a little too it kind of came right out into the side of the building I was building, so we decided to move it over like 5 or 6 tiles. And she was like, yeah, I'm gonna have to move this whole thing over. And I was like, we can all move it over. And when you got 3 people dirt printing and moving everything over together, it went so much faster. It was also about this time that, I don't know, I think I had the idea, but it could have been somebody else. I don't really remember now. So much time has already passed since we did this. But we're kind of talking about how, okay, this is supposed to be a museum and we have all these items in the game that we could put on display. What if we left the inside of the building hollow instead of making it solid? What if we just built the walls and we created an entrance on the side or something, and you could actually go in the museum and see, fossils and different things on display. And they were like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. And so, yeah, we went with that. And so from that point forward, she started building the structure to where it would accommodate the inside having actual items inside it. So it was hollow, whereas the building that I made, or the one that Sunny made, was solid, if that makes sense. So I've seen that a technique used on several other people's islands. I think most recently I saw it with Reeps. He built a house on his island, and it had like a courtyard or an area that looked like a living space. And I was like, yeah, that looks really cool. We should utilize that somehow. And then, it came in the form of the museum. So Sunny's just working away over there, getting her little area going. And I provided some grunt support on certain things. She was like, hey, can you lay out the sidewalk where this is going to be? What are we using? Cement? We'd kind of picked certain pathing patterns to be cohesive with each other, but not too matchy-matchy. But we definitely agreed that the sidewalk and any of the walkways should be cement, since my building is all brick. And it's like, okay, we need to break that up a little bit. If only I could remember to put the pathing down before I put the bridges up. It would save me a lot of time. But I have a feeling that's probably never going to be the case. We discovered that you could kind of sit on the frillies. So we took a little break to be silly, because why not? Also, it was really cool to kind of see things coming together and take shape. not sure why I planted coconut trees instead of doing the place item dev command. Sometimes your brain doesn't work on all cylinders, and later on you're like, oh, I could have just placed those and had them fully grown, and then I would have known immediately if that was going to work out. You live and learn. It's all trial and error. I placed a bottle brush tree to kind of create a really big bush, and realized that I had dug down, I guess, one space too far, and so it was looking a lot more anemic than I would like. I wanted it to look like a full shrubbery, kind of as you see here. So, but if memory serves, I end up changing that anyway. So, best laid plans of mice and men. I couldn't really find any pictures of what was behind this arched walkway, and so I just made the executive decision that I was going to make it a courtyard and make it look like, there was buildings wrapped around both sides, and there was just a little seating area in the middle. So this is kind of the process I'm going through of building that up to kind of create more of a courtyard area, lengthening the two almost turrets, if you will, on either side. So much dirt printing. If you've seen my Grand Canyon series, you'll know that dirt printing is not really my favorite thing anymore. Although for this particular build, because it was very structured and what have you, it made it a little easier, which seems strange, I know. But for me, my brain likes order. And I was like, okay, I'm making this specifically this particular way. Whereas the Grand Canyon was just sort of random. And for me, my brain does not do random. I have to plan. Type A personality and all. So, yeah, I don't like gigantic blocks of one particular type of pathing. I like to always sort of break it up with something else, and the patterned stone pathing is one of my favorite accent pieces, so that's what I did. I made like a checkerboard courtyard, which I think turned out really well in the end. Yeah, trying to get a perspective, looking back, constantly standing back. Okay, what can I add to make this look more like my inspiration picture and the area that I'm trying to recreate? And, my squirrel, shiny, distractions. I go from one thing to the next because, I guess adult ADHD is a real deal. It's a real thing. And here I was experimenting with different types of roof lines to kind of make it a little more interesting, break up some of the flatness, make some angles here and there. Yep, I put down stuff, I take it up. I put down stuff, I take it up. I have to see it. So it can be annoying, I'm sure, to watch and then go, why didn't she just leave it? And here my symmetrical, I like order and what have you. It was not working out. I was like, okay, how am I going to do this? I know I want these bigger lily pads to be in these places. So then, I just compromised, and it doesn't look the greatest doing it that way, but I didn't plan it, I guess, well enough when it came to numbering them that way. The little common heath flowers are kind of mimicking some of this little purpley pink that was coming out of the reflecting pond. It looked like there were plants growing in it, so, anything you can to, any item possible to replicate what you're trying to build. That's part of the creativity. That's part of the fun, I think, is to what can I use to make this look the way I want. And I'm so sorry about this swing around camera panning that I'm doing. I sometimes when I'm playing, I don't always think about what this looks like after the fact. So yeah, it's a thing to keep in mind for the future. So as you can see, sometimes we go in with a plan and other times we just sort of wing it. And here I'm trying to make a pathway around the reflecting pond, and I think I go back later and change some of that. This is part of an older part of the build that I had already had in existence as kind of the end of the botanical garden, and we determined that this would be like kind of the entrance of where you came into the park. So I'm having to kind of readjust to make it a little bigger so that you can walk around the fountain a little easier. Because when I built this, I had no, at the time I had no idea what I was going to be putting back on this side of the island. And so you just sort of you do what you need at the time. But here it needed to be a little bit bigger, and so I was like, all right, well, I need to make that little tweak. I'm over here, might as well. And because I like manicured lawns and clean lines when it comes to my gardens, I had to come in and mow, of course. I debated about putting the fountain up a level, but then I didn't want it to obstruct the view of the reflecting pond and the buildings beyond it. So I ultimately kept it on the flat surface level. Sometimes it's much about, what you don't see as what you see. And you plan accordingly. So Sunny's building is really coming together over there. And because I sped this up, it doesn't really show it for very long. Sorry about that, guys. Here I am coming with some accent pieces. Got to break up all that cement. So there we are. We've got the building coming together, leaving it hollow in the middle so that we can actually make it a museum. So now I'm going to deal with this little courtyard area and try to make something of this. I immediately regretted all my decisions when I filled that in. I was like, oh no, we can't do this. This is supposed to be a park, so there has to be green. Everything can't be a cement sidewalk. So yeah, I immediately took it up and was like, do not let me make the mistake again, guys. Except that I immediately fill it in with a different pathing, thinking that's going to make a difference. And then I didn't like the weird geometric shaping that was happening. Yeah, it becomes a whole thing. I realized later, and I do believe I put that in the video, where I did not place those bushes, quote, quote, bushes, in the right spot. So I do tweak everything. Here we're discussing kind of what the entranceway will look like, where you actually enter the museum. So that was that. And then Sunny's over here, just with her architecture, just going nuts. So yeah, this bush had to come out and we had to replace it because I was like, nope, I need the walkway to go straight so that we don't create this weird little right angle thing happening. I don't know. It did not work for me. So we take it out and redo it. It definitely made more sense this way, and it looked more like the example picture. So, sometimes you just have to let it live for a second and then try again. Yeah, I could just cut the tree down, but then I'd have to go in there and get the little thing. I was already in the dev command, so I was just like, I might as well do the debug while I was there. I did not originate using those as bushes. That's been done by better designers than myself. But I do think that if you want to create different foliage, planting trees at different heights is really a cool way to go about doing that. And mixing and matching, that really brings about different textures and colors. So here Sunny was like, okay, I want to place some trees. I don't want to wait for them to grow. Will you come over here and use the dev commands and place the trees that I want? And I was like, absolutely, let's do it. Now, I told her to do it, but she tried and she couldn't do it on my island. So whoever's hosting the island is, I think, the only one, at least based on our experience, capable of actually doing this place item thing. To kind of give you the full-grown trees without having to wait for them to grow. I knew I wanted to keep things mostly green with like maybe a pop of color here and there or some white because I wanted the architecture to be more of a focus and the green to just add different color and texture to what we were doing and not be so much of a thing that you saw. Because, Sunny's building over here, you'll eventually see, has a lot of, it's got a garden and utilizes a lot of that sort of, those colors and what have you. So yeah, burying the trees at different levels, I feel like gives you different looks. Sometimes the gumwood trees and the blackwood trees are very tall, and you want them to look a little shorter. So. I think, too, the varying heights of the plants just create a really interesting visual effect that you can't really get if you just plant them and let them grow to their natural height. So I'm really glad that we have this ability in the game to do that, dig things down, really add lots of texture and heights and, things that your eye can look at. Michelle's history museum is really coming together. And I decided this area only needed 3 benches and that we were just going to center them and make it a nice little seating area for the reflecting pond and for the museum. So like I've said before, I sometimes will get stuck creatively and I will walk away from whatever I'm working on and go do something else. And I kept putting down fountains going, I don't know what to do here. How do I make this look like a courtyard, but not like super boring? So I would come back there, take a look, do some stuff. Nah, I don't like this. And then go do something else for a few minutes or go talk to, one of the other ladies. And they would have a question like, hey, what do you think about this? Look at that light, guys. Every time. I just kind of stand back and marvel. So there's only 2 parts to this build. This one, and there will be a part 2. Part 2 is sort of the finishing up and tweaking a few things here and there, and then the big walkthrough at the end. So given that we built 3 buildings and an entire park replica, the fact that we did this so quickly, it was awesome. It really just made my heart happy to start a project and complete it relatively quickly. Sometimes when they take forever, you're just like, oh my gosh, am I ever going to be done? This was nice. So then we have a lot of discussion of what to do at the front of this building, because there were some things about it that were just not quite coming off the way that Michelle was wanting. And so there were a lot of brainstorming ideas. In between thinking about it, I come and, keep working on trying to make this little area that I'm supposed to be building look interesting architecturally, and just, like the picture and, do some fun stuff. So I was pretty proud of myself that I was able to kind of, building, I'm a pretty simple, when it comes to building the faux buildings, I get really simple and simplistic. And the fact that I was kind of experimenting with like archways and ramps and different angles, it turned out really good in the end, or at least I think so. I hope you guys do too. Again, this whole area kind of goes through quite a lot of changes in the next part, trying to get just the right look. And we come back and forth. I was trying to help Michelle as she was working on some other things, because I was like, I'm procrastinating my own build here, so let me come help you. Let me bother you. Let me be in your hair, because I don't know what to do with myself over there. Eventually, we determined that all of this is just way too busy. We look at the example picture that we were going off of, and it just did not, it was just too much. So while this looks nice and you could utilize it in any build, it just didn't really replicate what we were trying to do, or, the inspiration picture for the building that was being used. There was just so much stuff, and it does your eye doesn't know where to go. And it gets really busy. But after we sleep on it and we come back, we're like, yep, yeah, definitely need to change this up a bit. So, and some of that happens here. I think part of the issue was the stairs just end so abruptly. So you kind of have to put these little bookends on them in order to make them look a little more polished and finished. And the trees, we eventually end up moving because they're blocking too much of the front of the building. And we also changed the height of them as well. So just a bunch of little detail tweaks. So this little area over here becomes kind of a outdoor patio, cafe, eating area. But I wasn't sure at the time how to quite execute that. So here we are kind of taking a look at the museum, kind of what can we do to bring that vision to life. And then Sunny starting on her little hedge maze garden area, which turned out so amazing. Can't wait for you guys to see it completed. Really, I was just super happy with how all of this came together and how well we worked together. So we're definitely going to have to collaborate again in the future. It's very exciting. And a lot of fun. So I recommend you guys get some friends and go to building together. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this one, guys. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for part 2 next week. And as always, be kind to yourselves and be kind to others. I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.